Hey everyone, it's Dr. Evil here to talk about Batman Eternal ending and Future's End ending. They both ended this week, the first week of April, and 52 issues of Batman Eternal, 48 issues of Future's End. If you paid cover price, that was $300 to follow these two stories. Makes me really appreciate my 20% discount at my comic book store when I add that up. So I saved $60 on these two mega stories. And probably, obviously, there'll be spoilers here because I'm talking about the very end of these. So if you're planning to read the trades and you don't want to be spoiled or haven't read these issues yet, this might not be a good video for you. And I don't really have really deep things to say. I kind of wish I did, but pretty simple feelings about this. The irony is that that all along Future's End, right up till issue 46, maybe somewhere in issue 46, there was a little slippage for me. But so the first 45 issues, I said 46, I meant 47. So the first 46 issues were basically a great read. They were kind of a DC Comics that I really enjoyed. Just this, if you're going to have a big DC universe full of all these different heroes, it was this great braided tapestry story of all the heroes in 5 years in the future. There were some confusing things about it with the whole 5 years in the future stuff, but it really was very enjoyable. I enjoyed all the story threads as they moved along. I felt things were well balanced. Whereas in Batman Eternal, there was kind of this huge up and down roller coaster ride of good issues, really bad issues, issues where it just seemed like everything was phoned in. Whereas in Future's End, it seemed like they had a unified team. The art was never blow your mind art, but it was always solid storytelling. It just kept going. But at the end, I liked the last issue of Batman Eternal, and I was made furious. I hated the end of Future's End. And not just because I thought it was a bad end to a story, but that it made me feel like a sucker. It made me feel like the whole story was a meaningless waste. And if you've read it, you might know. I was talking to Wednesday Serial, Matt, and I guess he had read this issue. Yeah, I mean, I know he had read this issue, but he didn't connect the dots. From reading this issue, he assumed it wasn't the last issue of the story. So, for all its flaws, Batman Eternal brought us an end, and it answered all the questions, and the bad guy's ass was kicked, and Gotham was saved. At the end of Future's End, we're back 35 years in the future, where Brother Eye has turned all of humanity into robots, grotesque robot slaves of his, and has taken over Earth. We're back at the beginning. There's no change. There's one change. The change is that instead of Terry McGinnis being Batman Beyond, now, as I said, spoilers, Robin, Tim Drake is now Batman Beyond. And he is now in the future 35 years from now, where Brother Eye has taken over the world. And there's a few other survivors, it turns out, because we didn't think there was any survivors at the beginning, that basically Brother Eye had won. And that's why Terry McGinnis went back in time to stop him before he could get started. And the weird thing is, he does stop him before he could get started in issue 47, and then they undo it in issue 48. He then gets sent forward into the future and finds that Brother Eye has not been destroyed. He does, I mean, one might have been suspicious in this issue because Brother Eye seems to just go along. The early Brother Eye says, oh no, I don't want to become that, and I will stop myself. and then obviously he didn't. And so we have this Future's End. And somehow, I guess in their minds, this is all sealed off, so it's not the future for the regular DC universe, is it? It's like an alternate universe? I don't even know. But so, yeah, the worst thing in a story is to read 48 chapters and to have the basic mission of the story, which was to stop Brother Eye, be a total failure. Have we learned something along the way? Is this some kind of ironic twist that tells us about human nature and mankind and how we're all doomed? I don't think that was the point. I think they just, I don't know. Could they, just so that they could have a Batman Beyond story continue with Brother Eye, they make this whole thing pointless? It's infuriating. I was thinking that Future's End was one of my favorite DC superheroes books of a long time, and that I was looking forward to, when it was all done, a few months later, to rereading it. But what's the point of rereading it now when you know that everything you're reading is going to be meaningless in the last issue? That the only thing, I guess, that has meaning is the voyage that Tim Drake is on, where he had quit being a superhero, and now he's drawn back into being a superhero. And he's in love with this woman who's now 35 years older than him, but he still loves her. But I guess she's not Firestorm anymore. There was a whole thing where she became Firestorm, and, so there's just, it's a slap in the face to any kind of normal storytelling. And maybe you'd expect this from something avant-garde, or maybe it would be a cool, grim horror twist for a 2-issue story or a 6-issue story. But for a 48-issue story for $150, roughly, voyage, to get that, it's kind of mind-boggling to me that they did this. And the writers were doing such a good job. Could this really be the writer's choice? Or were they, somewhere as they were working hard on it, suddenly told, okay, this is what your ending has to be? I mean, it's the most... You could have destroyed Brother Eye and revealed another big bad that was coming down the pike, so that, we feel like we have to read more. And I wouldn't be so mad. I mean, I sort of figured there'd be something at the end where it's to be continued and not all done, even though it was 48 issues. But here it's like nothing was done. And on top of that, the final page, it doesn't say the end. It doesn't say tune in for more adventures in Batman Beyond. What if Batman Beyond isn't even going to follow up this story? I don't know. At the end here, this credit page that they've always done, it just says, into the future, on to the end, which has been the slogan, I think, for Future's End all along, maybe. I seem to remember them saying that early on. Yeah, in the issue before, it says into the future, on to the end. So there's no... Unless somehow I've completely misunderstood and there's going to be more Future's End, it's just a huge slap in the face. Now, some people did not like this series, maybe because, well, for whatever reason, it just really clicked with me, and I thought it was a really good read. It was just solid, workman-like superhero stuff. And given that, it seems particularly shocking they would choose such a anti-story kind of story ending. An ending that undoes the whole idea of story, because story is cathartic, right? We go up against problems and we solve them, and then we feel better, which we do feel better at the end of Batman Eternal. The way they structured it at the end was the kind of story that I want, and that I think most readers of stories want, where we get the unfolding of who the bad guys are, we get an explanation of what they were doing, we get a big fight, we get all of the superheroes coming together to fight them, we all of the Bat heroes. We also get all of, as I said, spoilers, all of Gotham coming forward and standing up for Batman. The police stand up for Batman. Everyone comes together. It's very cathartic. Is this a great comic? No, but is it satisfying storytelling? Yes. It can't be a great comic because the whole series of Batman Eternal has been so uneven and at times just really lazily produced. So you can, now that we can see the whole picture of Batman Eternal, I feel we can see what a great story it could have been. This kind of sweeping epic of moral turnarounds, like of Jason Bard. That was handled terribly, that Jason Bard becomes a good guy at the end. But that would have been a great idea if they found a way to handle it. Gordon descending into the pit of hell that is Blackgate Prison, and feeling perhaps he deserves it, but in the end not feeling that. Again, they kind of blew that. But it's still there. There's still the basic bones of a satisfying story there. And I think that... so in the end, I don't feel as bad of spending my $150 on that as this, which is the irony of, because I enjoyed this one so much, the ride until that point. And I thought of myself as someone who can just enjoy the ride. I think of a lot of times endings are not the best part of a story. And I wasn't expecting the last issue or the last couple issues of this, A Future's End, to be the best. But I'm now discovering that I do need some kind of cathartic ending to make the whole story seem worthwhile. Especially, for a story that's sold to you as a traditional story, not sold to you as avant-garde or something like that. I even think that the idea of Cluemaster, who turned out to sort of be behind it all, but behind Cluemaster was Marsh, the owl. I always forget his first name. Thomas Marsh, no, but the owl who claims to be Thomas Wayne Jr., I guess, from the Court of Owls. Anyway, that I thought it could be a clever idea to take someone who's a very minor kind of joke of a villain, Cluemaster, and reveal that he had more in him. And they could have, I think, they could have fooled us on that by appearing to just be focused on the Stephanie Brown story, the story of his daughter, secretly having planted enough in there about her father, by showing more of her life and her relationship with her father, that we would have then said, aha, yes, that actually makes sense. He was an untapped genius who could have been a great one, except for X, Y, and Z flaw, a great one as in a great villain. And then this is his time to shine. But so much in Batman Eternal was perfunctory or contrivances, but I still managed to enjoy a lot of the ride, and it really paid off nicely at the end here. However, because I was kind of attuned to satisfying story, there was an element of this that could have been a lot more satisfying, and that is just when Batman seems a little down, all his allies show up to back him up against Marsh, against the owl. Why can't I remember his first name? But Marsh does the old villain trick of making an explosion and then jumping down a hole and disappearing, and it's just done in a few little panels there, just when he's going to be defeated by our heroes. And that makes sense in the kind of comic books as serial stories. The villain always is defeated but escapes at the end and we get him. But I wanted a more conclusive kick-butt ending to Marsh after 52 issues, after that big of an investment. And later we find out that Marsh is with no, it's off the page. Somehow Marsh is captured. He's captured by some remains of the Court of Owls, who freeze him and put him in a little tomb to keep him for later. And I can see how that seems like a clever twist, but to have the Owls easily defeat Marsh when Batman can't, after all we've gone through, I just wanted that extra bit. I wanted Batman to truly take down Marsh. I mean, there's kind of the emotional moment where Marsh feels he's defeated Batman, on an emotional level and everything, and he's proved completely wrong and discovers that everyone supports Batman and no one cares about him. So I appreciate that. That was a nice catharsis. But I further wanted him to be totally taken out. So, yeah, that's where I'm left. I'm left in this strange place. Kind of satisfied with Batman Eternal. And, some people, like Ghost Critic and Joshua Hayes, have really hated the final act or whatever of this, but I found a lot in it that I liked. Derek Lucarelli, who has a different name now, Luke Batman something, but I'll put links to him below also. He's been much more positive. He's found more to like, and I think I've agreed with a lot of what he said in these later issues. So, can I really, though, do another weekly Batman comic? I do feel like it was a mostly kind of so-so experience. If it wasn't Batman, it would really have been bad. Batman, and Batman should work so well as a weekly. I mean, it's very exciting to me, the idea of a Batman weekly. I was not at all excited by Future's End, but I actually remember when I was getting really enjoying like the first 5 issues of Batman Eternal, I thought, I want another weekly. And so I ran out and I was able to find the issues of Future's End that already come out, and then I found that I liked Future's End a ton. But it really felt like the people doing the weekly Batman Eternal, just didn't have a handle on how to make such a big story work. So to invest so much money in it again, not if, they do Batman Eternal 2, I don't know. Arkham Manor, which started out to be something I really liked, turned really lame, but it was 6 issues. I felt like I had to ride it out. Batman and Robin, which I love and think might be the best Batman book out there, and DC's best book, possibly, or one of their best books, is going away. And it's Peter Tomasi's not going to be writing anything like this, so I don't know if we're going to have anything on a par with this to turn to after Convergence. I've liked a lot of Batman Endgame by Snyder and Capullo, but the last issue of it to me was really, really forced, and so I'm a little nervous about the final issue. I don't have it here, but I picked up Batman and Robin Annual, and that was okay filler. I felt like I had to get it because it was one of my favorite artists drawing it, although it was for him, it was still good art, but for him it was not the best. And you get kind of, I've been enjoying Gotham Academy, but you get the Endgame filler issue for that, which was good, but still unnecessary. It's like too much is being thrown at you. Is it time to just step off the moving sidewalk of DC Comics and just focus on indies? Probably I won't do that, but I'm not at the moment really enthused about the future of my Batman books. It's because I always had Batman and Robin to be really excited about. At times I was excited about other series going on, and I was always... Well, I got cut off. I think what I was saying is I'm thinking harder about getting off the the conveyor belt of DC Comics, and I've already kind of done that with Marvel Comics anyway. Because it seems like with indie comics you can count on them a little more, and you're not going to get the filler and all of that stuff. But probably I'll be back looking for some good Batman. It's been a lot of... The biggest thing, it's been fun to get a weekly Batman comic, and it's been fun to talk about it with everybody. So yeah, I'm saying I won't get it, and I'm saying I will. We'll see. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.